So Sunless, the Grandmaster version, is officially available in-game for D2 this week. Well, technically it was already available because Bungie decided to release it early, and also the GM node, but now it's intentionally officially available in-game, and with the launch this week, we're also getting double loot farming active, with Palindrome being the weapon of the week. Additionally, you'll also be able to get a new emblem for just completing the Sunless Strike, so that's a nice bonus too. So with that said, let's get into how you can make your life a whole lot easier and more efficient while you farm out some palindromes in this week's GM. For this guide, I am mainly going to be focusing on helping you with the awareness within the strike itself and how certain things work, and then what you can do to either circumvent these things or take advantage of them in order to save yourself a bunch of time and pain. As far as recommendations go, subclass-wise, there are many options you can opt in here in the strike and be efficient with them, but the top 5 I'd go with personally right now are the following in no particular order: Consecration Titan, Bold Charge Arc Titan, Geomag Warlock, Prismatic Slide Warlock, and finally Void or Prismatic Hunter with Tether. The gameplay you'll be seeing is myself running my Geomag Warlock build, which in simplistic terms is a infinite Chaos Reach build with some crowd control elements like freezing and blinding built in. If you'd like to check out this full build, I'll tag that video at the end of this one, but for now, let's just talk about the GM itself. So, the first thing you should know is this is a Grandmaster that has Unstoppable and Overload champions, except that's a lie. There are 0 Overload champions in this Nightfall. I'm not sure if this is supposed to be a typo or it's just a bug that there are none and there'll be more added later after a bug fix, but for the time of recording, the only champs you'll be seeing are Unstoppable champions. So that means you can focus your weapons around that entirely for the time being. The next thing you should know about this GM is there is a bug in it, and it's a crucial one that you should avoid if you want to guarantee yourself double loot at the end. Some of you may have already experienced this, but sometimes you can get gold instead of platinum at the end of this GM, and the reason for that is there's a hidden champion in the strike. The good news is it's at the beginning of the strike, so you can deal with it right away. As you enter the Founts section, you'll be greeted with your second Unstoppable champion, but there is seemingly supposed to be an additional third one here as well, except it isn't. So what do we have to do to fix this? And just to be clear, I'm not referring to the Unstoppable Phalanx champion that you meet in the middle of the area. This is an entirely different one. Anyway, how do you get him to spawn? We'll get to that in a second, but let's explain the layout of the room first. Once you dealt with the initial Unstop Ogre, continue to go through the Founts and nuke all the Thrall in front of you. You'll then be greeted with your first wizard formation of the Nightfall. Here, the objective is simple: eliminate all the wizards in the arena to progress into the next room of the strike. The key thing to note here is that you don't need to kill literally every single thing in the room, just the wizards and, of course, that Unstoppable Phalanx that I mentioned earlier. To make things simple and efficient, you can do one of two things. You can either do a 2-1 formation split with your fire team and send 2 players to the left and then your strongest player to the right, or just do a 3-man rotation where you go in each direction and just kill each wizard one by one. In the footage you'll be watching, I opt to go to the right-hand side by myself and let my teammates deal with the rest on their side. While I go through each wizard one by one, you'll notice here that I'm using a mix of my super as well as some CC to plow through the crowds in quick fashion, which is what your goal should be as well. Now, once you've done a full sweep of the room and all 4 wizards are dealt with, this is where the hidden unstop comes into play. Normally, you would just exit the arena after the 4th wizard and move on. Instead, what you have to do is double back towards where you came from, in fact the exact same spot where you killed that second unstop of the strike. There, you'll find that there is a brand new unstoppable jabroni waiting for you. Defeat this last champion, and you can then safely proceed forward and avoid the bug. Next up is the double blight room. For this particular area, it's pretty straightforward. Kill the enemies, take down the blights, then kill some more enemies, and you can go forward. But there is a proper way to not only speed up the process, but also ensure that your teammates that are doing the blight killing don't get screwed over afterwards. First off, clear out the entire room of enemies with whatever weapons you prefer. Personally, I opted to bring a machine gun for this part, specifically an arc machine gun to feed into my ionic traces for that part of my build, but any machine gun will do. Now, once you have dealt with all the Taken and the Grim, all that's left is going to be 2 blights, one on the left and one on the right. Have one teammate go to the left and the other go to the right, and have them destroy the blights simultaneously. Now, you might be wondering, what's the purpose of this? You see, when you destroy these blights, you will get a new wave of enemies to spawn in on each side in the middle section, i.e. the left blight makes enemies spawn on the mid-left, and then the right one does the same thing. So the normal issue here would be you destroy some of the blights, maybe one at a time, both at the same time, and then a bunch of enemies spawn in, including some wizards, whose entire life existence is to fly away and shoot your teammates down, not to mention the Nova Bomb Blights that spawn in as well. To circumvent this from happening, have your third player stand in the middle as the Blights are being destroyed. That way, you're able to just spawn kill the waves of enemies immediately. In my example, I ended up throwing an arc turret on one end to blind them, and then on the other end, I used my Chaos Reach to just blow them away, and then I focused on the blinded ones after that. This allowed both of my teammates to safely and quickly get back to the center without worrying about a bunch of enemies running them over. From here, you just proceed as a unit and head into the next room, which contains a yellow bar subjugator, but luckily for you, it's not a boss kind, so it is vulnerable to all forms of crowd control. So freezing, blinding, suppressing, etc. are all a great asset. My personal suggestion here is CC the Gator with anything that you can, and then focus on the trash. Once that is under control, utilize your supers on the subjugator with things like Thunder Crash, Chaos Reach, and Tether. Shortly after that, you'll be invaded by your next set of wizards and taken. Nothing major here happens, so just split off and deal with them accordingly. Afterwards, you'll have the door open in front of you, and a very beefy ogre spawns inside. Here is where I think a lot of people make a mistake. They think they can just go ahead and nuke the ogre and be done with it instantly, but in most cases, this doesn't happen, and even when it does, the real danger is the enemies that just spawned behind you while you were focused on the ogre. Instead, I recommend backing up to either the left or the right staircase, and instead of dealing with the ogre, you deal with the Scion group in the middle first, and then the enemies in front of you. This gives you cover from both the ogre, but also any annoying Bane spawns that come in, like the Void Bane, which seemingly has the reach across 26 different states. Once that is dealt with, you're off to the Shrieker room, and this is probably the most annoying part of the GM. You can't really just blast your way through in one big dash. You have to take your time just a tad here. What I'd recommend doing here is having at least one person with some sort of range here to take out the initial Shriekers closest to you. After that is done, you can deal with any close by taken, and after that, you can choose a pathway of either the left or the right hand side. Which side you pick doesn't really matter because you arrive at the same exact exit regardless, so just pick one and then focus on the Shriekers assigned to that side, i.e. you choose left, so you deal with the leftmost Shriekers, and then the left one in the middle row as well. Once those are dealt with, now you just need to eliminate the Wandering Unstoppable Phalanxes, which there should be 2 of in total, and then 1 yellow bar taken captain. All you need is just 1, because once one of them dies, the doors open to the exit immediately, so you don't have to worry about taking down the other one. And once you leave, you'll be met with 1 more Unstoppable Phalanx and some Acolytes, and then you're in the clear. The last part before the boss is the bridge section. Now, I'm not going to really spend a lot of time on this, and just straight up tell you, run past all the Grim. It's just not worth it. It really isn't. And while you're fighting them and trying to dodge Tinnitus spam, you can also get just jumped by a bunch of husks for your efforts, and that could honestly just screw over your run while you're getting stabbed in the butt. I think, personally, instead, you should just run past literally everything, all the jabronis, and then once you get towards the exit near the rally flag, then I would just use my super and any ammo that I had, and if you deal with them, great. If you don't deal with all of them, you can also just rally the flag and then finish them off. Or you can just do the other option where you rally and then instantly go down into the boss fight. Whichever you prefer, but either way, I would just run past all the Grim on the bridge either way. And now for the boss fight itself. Look, I'll just be bluntly honest here. The boss room is just extremely underwhelming. Not only is it flat out worse than the counterpart in Destiny 1, but it's also disappointing from a D2 sandbox point of view too. The boss room largely consists of you getting the boss down to about 2/3 health, and then he goes immune. Shocking, I know. Then you deal with 3 wizards who don't even attack you, and then some Thrall. Yeah, the boss will be roaming during this part, but he walks at you with the speed of a geriatric cactus, so I think you'll be fine. Anyway, once you deal with the wizards, you can then damage the boss again until you hit the next health gate, and then you deal with some more wizards. But they're even weaker than the last set, so that's cool, I guess. Again, wipe out the wizards and some Thrall, and then you push the boss to the final health gate if you haven't already. At this point, Timu Alakul will reach his final form, and this is the only part of the boss fight that can be tricky. But only if you forget to hold your supers. Because the good part for this portion is, there is no more health gates, you just simply burn him down and win. So, be careful while you're doing this, because there are some husks during this portion, as well as 1 unstop too. But as long as you keep that unstop under control, you can just burn through this boss instantly, especially if you have multiple Thunder Crashes off rip. And that is it for Grandmaster Sunless Cell. Overall, it's not too bad at all, but you can definitely speed it up a little bit with some of these tips. Hopefully this helps some of you guys farming this week for some palindromes. If you did enjoy the video, please consider subscribing today. It does help the channel grow and is much appreciated. And if you want to go the extra mile, you can leave a like and a comment below as well. If you don't know what to comment, you can leave cactus as the comment. Thanks for watching. Catch you next time.